Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In case you're new to my channel, my name is Amy and I'm an online reseller. What that means is I go to places like thrift stores and garage sales. I find what I can for cheap to flip for a profit and sell it on places like eBay and Poshmark and a little bit on a couple other platforms as well. So today I'm going to do another what sold video for you guys. This one is going to encompass the end of September 23rd through the 30th. We have 20 sales to go over, so let's get started. Alright guys, so like I said, these are going to be sales that we made on eBay and Poshmark between September 23rd and September 30th. So we are going to finish out the month of September in this video. If you haven't seen any of my previous what sold videos, you should go check those out. These are some of my favorite videos to do, is the what sold videos, because I feel like it gives you guys the most information, tells you what's selling right now for us and our eBay and Poshmark stores. And I feel like that gives you a better idea of what to be on the lookout for when you're sourcing, since that's what's selling, at least for us right now. So let's go ahead and get into this. First off, we have this Pokemon Sorry game. I picked this up for $5 at a garage sale, and it sold on eBay for $20. Next, we have these Pro-Pay men's shoes. Bought these for about $6 at Goodwill, and they sold for $27. Next up are these pair of Merrell women's shoes. These we paid about $2.33 for at the bins, and they sold on eBay for $23.98. Again, if you're new to my channel and you haven't heard of the bins before, I always like to tell you because I usually have sales from the bins, and in case you're not familiar with that, I like to just go over it real quick. Basically, it's also referred to as the Goodwill outlet, and it's where you pay for everything by the pound instead of paying for each individual item. So it can be a really good, cheaper way to source items. Obviously, if you're a person that's been on my channel before, you've heard me talk about the bins a million times, but I always like to go over it for people just in case they haven't heard of it and they're new. Next up were these Sorel women's boots. Bought these for about $3.28 at the bins, and they sold for $44.97. Unfortunately, the buyer received these and decided that they did not fit, so they did return them. So, unfortunately, that is part of doing business on eBay. Sometimes you are going to run into returns, and unfortunately, it's just something you have to deal with. eBay does have where you can set that you will not accept returns. It's kind of pointless to do that in my opinion, because eBay will essentially always make you take a return anyway, because all the buyer has to do is open the return request as item not as described, and then eBay will force you to take the return and refund them for the item, because the buyer is claiming that the item wasn't what you described it to be. Even if that's not true, the buyers will do this sometimes to have a way around the system. They know how to work the system. They know how to get around you having no returns. So to me, it makes more sense just to offer 30-day returns. I don't push it out to like 60 days. Some people do give like 60-day return. I only do a 30-day return, and I always make the buyer pay for the return shipping as well. I do not offer free return shipping. You do you. It's up to you what works best for you in your business. For me, it doesn't make sense to me to offer free return shipping. I also don't offer free shipping when they buy either. I always charge shipping on all of my items. So, you know, that's a highly debated topic in the eBay community. A lot of people say you should offer free shipping. A lot of people say you should offer free returns. Listen, I don't think there's any one right way to do it. So I think whatever you want to do and whatever works best for you and your business, you know, feel free to do it that way. For us, this is what works for us. We make the buyer pay for shipping, and we make them pay for return shipping if they want to return it. So, you know, again, just a part of doing business on eBay is having to take returns. Next up, we have this LL Bean flannel shirt. Paid $4.15 for this at Goodwill, and it sold on eBay for $25. Next up are these New Balance men's tennis shoes. Paid $2.55 for these at the bins, and they sold for $30 on eBay. Next are these Crocs wedge sandals. Paid about $1.48 for these at the bins, and they sold for $25.47. Next are these Nike thong sandals. These we only paid 90 cents for at the bins because they were super lightweight. That's one of the things I really like about the bins is when you can find like sandals, because sandals usually are very lightweight. And since everything is, you know, paid by the pound, when you find things that are really lightweight, like sandals, you're not going to pay that much for them. So these were really cheap at 90 cents, and they sold for $20. Next are these Nike basketball shoes. Paid $7.46 for these at our local thrift store, and they sold for $27.98 on eBay. Let's go ahead and jump to a few Poshmark sales, and then we'll get back to our eBay sales. I just want to get these 3 Poshmark sales out of the way right here kind of in the middle, and then we'll finish up our eBay sales. So on Poshmark, we sold these UGG boots, paid about $3.71 for these at the bins, and they sold for $30 on Posh. Next, bought these North Face boots for $3.71 also at the bins. So both of those boots must have weighed about the same. And these ones sold for $31 on Poshmark. And the final Poshmark sale I wanted to go over with you guys was this Ghostbusters Granny Gross action figure. Now this was actually a toy that I had from when I was younger. So a while back I got a whole bunch of my old toys from my mom's house, and I've slowly been selling a lot of them off, and this was one of those things. So it was from like, I think like the 90s. This was a Ghostbusters. It was like a different character, you know what I mean? Like not one of the actual Ghostbusters, but just some character from Ghostbusters. Like I said, it's called Granny Gross. And so I didn't have any cost into it, and it sold on Poshmark for $20. Alright, now let's get back to the rest of our eBay sales. We have these Nike men's sneakers. These we paid about $3.20 for at our local thrift store, and they sold for $20. Next are these Lauren Ralph Lauren sneakers for women. Paid about $2.12 for these at the bins, and they sold for $19.98. Next is this Barbie Western Fun Jeep. This is another vintage toy that was mine from when I was younger. So again, didn't have any cost into it. Was just selling off some, you know, old items from my childhood. This wasn't even complete. It was supposed to have like a canopy piece on top of the Jeep that it was missing. I'm not sure what happened to it. You know, when you're a kid and you have toys, things go missing, especially over the years of my mom trying to, you know, store all that stuff for me. So, but even in that condition, it still ended up selling for $18.73. Next are these Skechers Go Walk shoes. Bought these for about $1.35 at the bins, and they sold for $19. Next are these Geisswein. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not. Slippers. Found these for about $1.59 at the bins, and they sold for $20 on eBay. I'd never really heard of that brand before, but I actually found 2 pairs of these slippers at the bins at the same time. They looked like a really good quality, like they were like a wool material. So I decided to look up the brand, and they looked like they were worth picking up. So I did, and I've now sold both pairs of them. So that's pretty awesome. Don't ever be afraid to look things up. A lot of times you're going to find items that you've never heard of before, whether it's, you know, the kind of item it is, or whether it's the brand of shoe or clothing or what have you. There's going to be things you're probably not going to have heard of before. There's no harm in looking things up. That's how you learn. that's how you find new brands that then you can be on the lookout for in the future. And I'm always doing that. I'm constantly looking things up. That's how I learn, just by doing research and constantly looking up things that are new to me and that at least look like they might be something that's worth checking out. So yeah, keep that in mind. Don't be ashamed to look things up. Everyone has to learn new things somehow. And even when you've been doing it for years and years and years, there's always still new things to learn. So don't ever be afraid to look things up. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, next are these Polo Ralph Lauren boots. Paid up for these. Paid about $10.79 for these at Goodwill. I was comfortable paying that because when I looked this specific model up, I saw that it would sell for pretty decent money. The Polo Ralph Lauren boots seem to do pretty well. I do think I have at least a couple other pairs listed and have probably sold some other pairs before as well. So yeah, I don't typically like to pay those kind of prices for shoes. I don't normally pay that much because I'm pretty cheap. So I like to keep my buy cost as low as possible. But like I said, sometimes you do have to pay up a little bit. And in this case, I did and was comfortable doing that. And they ended up selling on eBay for $55. Next is this Nintendo DS Lite. This one was pretty cool. I paid approximately $23.33 for this at a garage sale. So what happened at this garage sale is, and I believe this garage sale was last year, I went into this garage sale and there was 3 different Nintendo DS's there. They had the Nintendo DS Lite, this one, the DS2, I think it's called, and the DS3. So they had all 3 of them. They had a whole bunch of games for them, cases. I believe the 2 and the 3 also even had like their original box with them. And I believe she originally had, I'm trying to think if it was like 30 or 35 that she had on like the 2 and the 3 maybe, and like 20 or 25 on the DS Lite. Well, I ended up asking her if she would take, I think it was 70 for all 3 of them, and she took it. So I was able to buy all 3 of those for like $70, which was really awesome. That's one of the best garage sale scores, video game garage sale scores I've personally ever come across. I don't have good luck with video game stuff. I've talked about that before. If you guys aren't new, you know that I have talked about that before. I don't do the best with video game stuff. I don't have the best luck with it. Although this summer I actually had more luck with video game stuff. But last summer I still was in the, I'm not having good luck with video game things. And surprisingly, I found this and I was shocked. And I was even more shocked that she ended up taking 70 for all 3. Now, I sold the DS2 and DS3 last year, not long after I bought them, I don't think. I think the 3 was the first one to sell. So I think the first 2, or the 2 and the 3 sold very quickly. This one took a little bit longer. I did bundle it with a few of the games, and it had like a case, like a carrying case and things like that. It did take a while to sell. I eventually, I think I had it originally priced at about $100, and then I did put it on sale or send offers a few times, but it just wasn't moving. So finally I ended up taking an offer on it for $71. Again, I'm very happy with that. Even though I wanted to squeeze a little bit more out of it than that, it's fine. Essentially I paid about $23 for this when you break it down. And so 23 into 71 doesn't sound like a lot, although that is still a pretty decent profit. Not only that, I had already sold the other 2 a long time ago. So I was already so I mean, basically this is all profit at this point, because I had already made my $70 back, and more when the DS3 sold. The DS3, I believe, sold for, it was over 100. I can't remember the exact amount now, but I think it was 120, 130. I don't remember how much it was, but I was definitely already in the profit after that one. I already made my money back and was in the profit. So the 2 and this Lite were basically pure profit at that point, because I'd already made my money back plus some. So I'll still take this $71, and I'm just glad that it's finally out the door. So that's great. And finally, the last eBay sale that I want to tell you guys about from this time period is this Masters of the Universe Battle Armor He-Man action figure. Again, one that I had from when I was younger, so I don't have any cost into it whatsoever. And this thing sold for $99.97, which was freaking awesome. So I was really excited about that. Again, just a toy that I just had, you know, sitting around in storage basically since I was young. And somebody paid basically $100 for it. So things like that are always awesome. You guys should be on the lookout for things like this, by the way. Any kind of nostalgic toy, or anything nostalgic, really. People are really into nostalgia. People are really into things that are going to remind them of when they were younger. People collect a lot of those items, and in general, they just have like a kind of an emotional attachment to it. Personally, I don't really have emotional attachment to any of these toys that I had from when I was younger, so I'm having fun selling them and making the money from it. To me, it's not stuff I want to hang on to. I don't have anywhere to keep all this stuff, but some people will collect this stuff. They'll display it, and things like that, especially stuff like that, like the Masters of the Universe action figures and other items from things like that do really well. It's a popular nostalgic, you know, item. So be on the lookout for things like that. Or if you even have things like that from your own childhood and you don't have an emotional attachment to them and don't feel the need to hang on to them, hey, you might want to look into selling them. You might want to look and see what you have and see if it's worth selling. Because like I said, I've done pretty well with a lot of my old toys. And again, it hasn't cost me anything. You know, that's the cool thing too. I'm not having to go out and source these items. I am not having to spend any money on these items. I'm just getting rid of things that I've had for years and years and years and years and years that have just been sitting in storage and I don't have any use for. And it's cool to see them again before they go. But like I said, I don't have any need to keep them or to collect them. So, yeah. But you guys might either want to be on the lookout for things like that when you're out at thrift stores, garage sales. Sometimes you can find those things. Or if you have, like I said, just like me, if you had those things from when you were a kid, hey, you might want to go looking through your storage and see what you've got, see if it's worth selling, and sell it, unless it's something that you yourself have that emotional attachment to. Hey, maybe it'd still be cool to go look in storage then and see what you got. Maybe you'll want to keep it and hang on to it yourself. I don't know. Anyway, you guys, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, give it a like. That helps the channel. It helps this video reach more people. If you have any comments or questions, make sure to leave them down below, and I'll always try to answer any comments or questions you guys have. Please make sure you subscribe. Subscribing will help notify you every time I post new content. And yeah, I guess that's it. So until next time, guys, keep on hunting for that hidden treasure.